Hello Internet, my name is James and you're watching Macabre Manscaped, the most ill-titled music-based channel on YouTube. Excuse bad lighting and audio issues. We're doing things a little bit more low-tech than usual, and that is saying something. Um, it's been overcast all week, and I've been slowly moving things out of this room, so it's becoming more and more echoey, hence the little mic. So I'm sorry if I yell and it blows out, or peaks the audio. It's just what we're dealing with. And you know what? No one's paying for this. I'm not investing any money in this. This barely constitutes as a hobby. And I've seen what passes as good educational content because I did school during COVID times. And I took a genetics class where once we went online, every single video lecture was my professor sitting in a dark room with a whiteboard using his laptop camera and just projecting onto the whiteboard. And every single time he was in frame, it was either, most of the time, it was that he was conveniently just out of frame enough so you could never see his face. And if you could, he had these giant rim glasses that would just reflect glare. And it was like the video essays of a serial killer. So, you know what? This is just my little dog and pony show. I'm not investing any money in this. I think I'm fine. Yeah, so today we're doing an Ex Libris episode that is from the library of, this is collection A through Z, just talking about things that I enjoy or have discovered and want to hear back from people. Call to action. Without further ado, let's start. First things first is this band Angitsia. They are Austrian. I thought they had connections to the band Summoning, but I don't actually think that is the case. This is their debut album released on Napalm Records back when they had the little black ball logo in 1997, early 1997. Their second album came out later that same year. Hello, this is me editing the video when I realized I never actually said the name of this album, and I actually practiced it, so I'll be damned if I don't use it somehow. It's in German, so bear with me. Die Kemenaten Schalachotelichte. German speakers, feel free to correct me. I am sorry, but I tried. And this is a neoclassical, symphonic, kind of gothic, doomy metal album. You can tell that the focus on it is squarely on like the piano and the strings, really, with some vocals, even though I don't really love the vocals, because the rest of the band is really pulled back a lot. Just really pretty design. Anyways, really pulled back a lot. It's really quiet in the background. There's some nice, harsh vocals, those like black metal style vocals on it, which are also pretty quiet. It's just one of those albums that, first of all, I discovered in the times, in like the peak time when people could upload full albums onto YouTube without like labels, copywriting it and like taking it down, blocking it in certain places. So that was like 2011 to 2015, I think, was like the peak of that. And I discovered it during that time. By the way, Napalm Records is super consistent with blocking things in the US for some reason. So that's why I discovered it around that time. And I remember liking it. And then I just kind of forgot about it until like I think Brain Smasher showed it. And I was like, oh yeah, that album. He reminded me of its existence. So I bought it off of eBay in a lecture war of one. Bid once and win. I love those. But yeah, it's not an album that I can like actively listen to. It's one of those like background albums for me because I don't know. I just don't love it. I don't find it super memorable, and it's not something that really grasps my attention. I think in terms of gothic and symphonic metal, this is kind of not up to par, personally. Yeah, but it's super atmospheric, and if you want something like really string heavy and drenched in like orchestration that isn't like too bombastic, this is probably the way to go. Like, it's fine. I don't regret buying it. It's just not really my taste. Next up is a band that I have loved forever. This is a band that is also very important to my musical journey, my metalhead's journey that I'm sharing with you on the internet, my journey. I'm sorry, I'm so stupid. And that is God Has a Plan for Us All by Angtoria. For those of you who don't know, Angtoria was a band formed by the Wren brothers, Chris and Tommy, and Sarah Jezreel Deva as on vocals, who did background vocals for Cradle of Filth for over a decade. This is the actual original cover on the booklet. Tits out, scarred body. It's a really good album. It's super neoclassical symphonic gothic metal, really dark. They have since come back in the last year, I think. They started activity again under a new name, but torn between two worlds, and they've released a couple singles. It's a lot less dark, but still good. I do recommend checking them out. Yeah, so this is the band that got me into, first of all, Sarah Giselle Diva's voice. I love her voice. I'm glad that she's back. She did, work with, Cradle and Therion and Mortis, it's two eyes, and The Covenant or Covenant. They did, she sang on that album, Nexus Polaris. And she's, she does a lot of vocals with Hecate Enthroned nowadays. She's been around for a long time. She's a legend. I love her. And yeah, so this is what got me into her and what got me into listening to Cradle of Filth in the first place. Because when I was, 10 years old getting into metal, that style was far too extreme for me. But you know what? I think having that connection with that background vocal helped me like bridge that gap, and I fell in love with a lot of early Cradle. And it's probably the reason why some later Cradle never really tickled my fancy. I just don't have that like connection with it. And it's also not as good. So there's also that. But yeah, so this came out in 2006 on Listenable Records, French label. Really, really good. I recommend it for anyone who's a fan of symphonic and gothic metal. So good. Okay, next is something a little bit different. This is an artist that I saw live at 924 Gilman, or simply the Gilman for the locals. We just called it the Gilman. And that is Anna Antipalindrome. So I have her third album, Dangling Modifiers. It came out in 2013 or 2014, because I think it was 13, because I saw her live in 2013. And this is a combo CD with songs from her two other albums, White Knuckle Sonnets and A Collection of Crutches, called Analog. Very pretty. They did, it's all handmade packaging. When my collection got stolen, I was so happy that these two were some of the 14 albums that were left behind, because I would never be able to replace that. So, and this is Dangling Modifiers. They have the lyrics in this little pouch, which I'm not going to take out, and a little bio page on the inside. It's like bio and like a little prose poem and, some other stuff. And the disc is pink. It's pink. So Anna Antipalindrome is a super cool artist. I recommend checking her out. She's like a political DIY lo-fi artist. The way I describe her, what she does is really cool. So I saw her live first and bought both albums for $15, because what they did, it was like there's the merch table and you just kind of like throw your own prices on it and you pay whatever they think they deserve. So I think I got both for $15, because that's what I had as like a high schooler. And so she sits on stage. She sits on stage and she has a loop box and like two microphones, and she'll like set a beat and then loop it and then do like background vocals and harmonies and then loop those and then sing the rest of the song over it. It's super cool. So like one song, let's see, I don't remember exactly how the beat goes. It's very simple because she makes it with her mouth. It's like basically, right? It's a simple beat. And then she'll sing like the da 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 da, and then on top of that, after that's been looped, she'll do the harmony da 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 da, and then sing the rest of the song over it. And it's really cool. One of the songs she did with her heartbeat was the beat. She had a stethoscope and recorded that, and dun dun was the beat. And one other song she used like an egg recorded. I think recorded the egg cracking sound, but also the with an egg beater. Super cool. She has a Bandcamp page. Let's see. This one's a bit more delicate. So again, bio page. These are credits. They unfold and it's credits and notes on songs. And the disc. Really pretty. Little bird. So yeah. Check that out. Links are always in the description on these videos. Okay, next up is another band I have two albums by here, and that is Anticrisis. For those of you more into extreme metal, they started off life as a gothic, doomy black metal project with some folk influence. And I don't have their first album. Their first album, Cantare Anacareta or something like that, is much more extreme. The style shift from album 1 to album 2 is severe. So the backstory behind that is that the main guy, Sid, he had one of those black metal synonyms like Nurgle or Euronymous or, Beelzebub, whatever have you. And he started a rumor, the way that he changed styles was he started a rumor that his black metal self committed suicide and then just continued the band and then put out an album the next year, which is super weird. So this is Legacy of Love, 1998's A Legacy of Love. I don't remember who originally put it out, but I know that they were eventually signed to Napalm, and this is the Iron Records version, so that's Russian. Let's just open this really quick. So this is mostly really melodic folk rock, but you can tell still here that they used to be like a doomy gothic metal band. Not so much black metal, like that stuff doesn't really make its way in as much, but you can hear like these really long, slow, like doomy songs with this like church bell bang, and it's interesting. Sid's singing is not one that I've super ever been really into, but he can sing. There's some music stuff, so you can learn how to play some of these songs. So yeah, so the change between the doomy gothic black metal into folk rock is really jarring. But I think they did the folk rock stuff really well, at least for this album. On 2001's Perfume, originally released on Napalm, and this is the Scarecrow Records pressing, which is, again, Mexican pressing. I actually got this one in Mexico at I think the store's called like Señor Disco or something like that. It's a chain, from what I can tell. So this has just credits, really. Nothing too much. You have to go on the website for lyrics, which is weird, but acceptable, I guess. So yeah, this is even more different than Legacy of Love. It's still folk rock, but it is super strange. I don't even know. It's just really experimental, on top of being, more folky and less extreme. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so weird. The vocal deliveries are really choppy, and it's just weird. I don't think they did a super great job. The first 3 songs are good, and then after that, it just kind of gets repetitive. And then I just kind of jumped off the bandwagon at that point with this band. Yeah, I don't regret getting it. It only cost me like $5, even less than that maybe. Yeah. Moving on, I have this album by this. I believe they're either American or Canadian. I don't remember. And this is Griseus or Griseuse by Acquireless. I'm not really sure what language the title is supposed to be in. This is a folky, symphonic black metal project, I'm pretty sure. I always get them confused with Windblade because I got the albums at the same time. And I actually got this for just $2, and apparently it actually goes for a lot more on Discogs, which is great if I ever feel the urge to sell it. But yeah, so just like the Angitsia album, this is one of those albums that you can't really I personally can't listen closely to it. It's more of a background thing. It's very pretty, but not particularly memorable, which is an issue they have with a lot of black metal. Yeah, I don't know what to say. If you're more into that really more grandiose, not super high quality, so if you're worried that's going to sound like Demu or Cradle, it really doesn't. You don't really have to worry about that, but it is much more majestic sounding black metal. So if you're into that, check that out. Okay, next up I have a band that I have talked about before, and I acknowledge that it is not super cool or hip to be into them anymore, but I still like them, and I've only started actively buying their stuff more or less recently, and that is Arch Enemy. I've said this before, I don't care for anything that came out before Angela Gosso joined the band. I just don't like Johan Leva's vocal style. So I start with here, Wages of Sin, their first album with Angela. Really just raw sounding melodic death metal, which is an issue that I've had with their newer stuff, is that the production has just gotten cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, and it kind of takes away from that energy and kinesis, that energy and kinesis, and just, I think you lose some of that death metal-iness as production gets cleaner. But this is still pretty, abrasive. It still sounds like a death metal album. But in general, I don't love all the songs. I don't love the album as a whole. Some of the songs are really good. But in general, I think as the record goes on, I just get a little bit more bored. The next album, I think, is actually a step up, And I've said that even though We Will Rise probably became the big hit off of this album, the rest of the album is mostly much better than it. Anyways, so I really like this. I know, it's popular to be a little down on Arch Enemy these days, but I like them. I stand by it. It's a good album. I like it. My favorite, though, is probably 2007's Rise of the Tyrant. All of these have been released on Century Media, by the way. Rise of the Tyrant. This is, I think it's a lot more stripped down, so like a lot of the Arch Enemy stuff had a lot of like production quirks on Angela's vocals. This kind of does away with them. It sounds just like really powerful and strong and raw and full of energy, and the song is just really cool. I don't need to like go on too long about Arch Enemy. I feel like everyone who's watched this has probably heard some of them. But yeah, really nice aesthetic. Like the drawn, like almost like wood carving style is really cool. Yeah. And then the last one I have by them is, well, I used to have War Eternal. That got stolen. I've yet to replace that. Hopefully, I'll do that one of these days. And that is Will to Power is my last one. This is the most recent one, 2017's Will to Power. I liked it. I think it was better than War Eternal, for sure, but I still think that Arch Enemy, or Alyssa White Gluz is wasted on Arch Enemy, who... Alyssa sounded so good on those first three, the Agnes records. Those were some good times. I loved those records. But yeah, so production-wise, I think it suffers from that like too clean of a sound. That kind of, I don't know, I think it's missing something. Like whenever it's too smooth and clean, it misses something. It might as well not be really like melodic death metal anymore at that point. Yeah, I still like that record. It's good. I can listen to it and enjoy it. And that's all I really ask about, that's all I ask for music, really. Okay, last two things. Same band, and I've talked about this band several times. That is Azerai. So I have their 1998 debut, As Voices Speak, and their 2007 third album, and most recent, Pearls in Dirt. So As Voices Speak came out in 1998 on Poison Ivy. So this band started off in 1989 in probably more goth and punk, sounds and worlds, and then eventually added more metal influence. So I can admit that maybe this probably shouldn't be described as gothic metal. I still think it, it fits in the genre. They've played those festivals. They've ingratiated themselves in the sound anyways. So this record's kind of all over the place. You can still hear that like really big punk and goth influence on it, as well as some hard rock and alternative, like 90s alternative style influences. It's hard to listen to because the production is so like not great. And I still actually have yet to listen to it all the way through. It's kind of like that big of an issue. But, nice green photography. Yeah, and then their third album, I have yet to get their second album. That is probably sitting in my cart on Discogs and eBay, both, left to fester. But you know what? It's not the time. And this is Pearls in Dirt, their third album, released on Season of Mist in 2007. They released an EP in 2013, but I have yet to hear that. So it comes with, this like velvet slipcase, and it's a digipack, which is weird. Like that's a weird combination. But it's pretty. Unfortunately, I think it has this like tendency towards like that look of tattoos and stickers that you would get in those like coin machines in like 2002. That it's a little trashy, a little hokey, but that's fine. Musically, I think this is really good. It's super commercial, so like don't expect anything like really out there. It's a really commercial record, but I think they did, the commercial style knockoff Evanescence, like Blood Flowers almost type music better than they did their really raw debut album. And you know what? Sometimes things that are commercial are good, actually, and I stand by that. But yeah, so this is a little bit more gothic metal-y, but again, that metal tag is one that is kind of constantly in flux with this band. So check them out if you want something a little bit less severe, a little bit extreme. It's all clean sung, and that is the trend for a lot of like modern gothic and symphonic, especially during this time. in the 2005 to 2010 times. Harsh vocals became less and less prominent for a while. They're probably on, they've been back for a while now. But yeah, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. I should say in one of my last videos, maybe it was my last video, I don't remember, I said I had a project coming up that I was really excited about, and I do, but it's nowhere near being done. I haven't actually filmed anything for it. It's scripted out. It's 12 pages written out. I haven't really worked on, it's scripted. I want to be really clean. It's not a new topic or subject. It's been done, but I want it to be a little bit more thought out and less rambly. So yeah, I have it printed. I just haven't, learned the script, or at least gotten a good flow for what I want to say exactly. And yeah, so I'll get to that eventually, hopefully. In the meantime, I will do a collection update. So there's that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe to, I don't know, so yeah, like, subscribe, call to action, follow me on Twitter if you so choose. And that's all. Thanks for watching. Bye.